So the black liberal feminist Malissa Harris, two last names Perry, doesn't like these ads that are going on in New York City. They're basically some logical, factual uh, imagery on why being a teen parent, not just girls, because some of them point to the reality of men, the one in the middle or the one at the top, got me from day one. I see how the men at my job, I say at least 95% of the men at my job are paying child support, and that ain't no joke. I'll talk about that in a different video, but it's just, to me, it makes sense that these videos are to encourage young people to take more precaution before they are sexually responsible. And it makes sense, but the black liberal feminist, she doesn't like it because it's shaming. But it's odd that, this is to promote young people to think twice before they do something that's pretty dangerous and could affect your whole future. But it seems like every time we have the conversation about single mothers, the exceptions to the rules always stand up, and yet they shift the conversation away from how many of these people grow up in poverty. They shift the blame for how the behavior of a lot of young men who don't have fathers in their homes, and the problems that a lot of young girls go through, like in the two-parent system. They ignore all that when they bring these up because they they stem from feelings and emotion, and they ignore all logic and reason. If you really just look at Hollywood, they promote single motherhood with all these movies, and I'm going to do a video showing those movies that promote it. Yet Malissa Harris, two last names Paris, the black feminist, doesn't have an issue with that. There was a decline in teen pregnancy in up until 2008. Obviously, there's a reason why, but there was a decline in pregnancy. And then around, I think it was some pop star chick's sister got pregnant, and after that, all these reality shows came on with like 16 and pregnant, things of that nature. And there was a rise in teen pregnancy after those shows happened. So people can say that she says that the shaming won't work, because I keep hearing that a lot. But so when leftist Hollywood promotes it and glorifies single motherhood, and a lot of these little girls think it's cool when they want to go on TV thinking they're gonna have a baby and it's all good, there's no backlash from leftists. But there's a comprehensive, logical campaign that's saying, this is the negative side of being a parent when you're too young. This is a thing that can happen bad. And I'm going to read you an article right after I get done with this, basically showing you how the exceptions to the rule constantly always get in the way of the argument. Basically, a female who claims she was a teen mother, or she was, and her life turned out great. But I'm saying stories like this, they ignore the reality. They ignore the rapists, the murderers, the people, the chicks that are prostitutes, strippers. They ignore all that, and they make it seem, and they glorify the situation like you can do it. Of course, it can be done, but is it wise? So I'm gonna play the clip of Malissa Harris Perry and let her go on her rant. Then I'm gonna read this article.
Whatever choices women make at work and in life, those choices are easier if they delay childbearing. Having a kid while you're still a teenager can seriously curtail your options, which is why it is good news that American teen pregnancy rates are at historic lows. The rate of teen pregnancy has been falling since 1991 and dropped again dramatically in the last 4 years. So I must ask, why in the world, as the crisis is abating, and fewer teens are facing the challenges of early child rearing, would the city of New York spend $400,000 on a campaign to publicly shame teen parents? Seeking an answer, this week's letter goes to the man who signed off on that campaign. Dear Mayor Michael Bloomberg, it's me, Melissa. What happened? I mean, Mr. Mayor, you have an enviable track record of supporting reproductive rights and advocating for common sense, proven strategies that reduce unwanted and unplanned teen pregnancy. You mandated comprehensive, age-appropriate sex education in schools. You've worked to make sure that birth control is available to young people so they can make wise decisions and delay becoming parents. And the city's teen pregnancy rate has declined more than 27% in the last decade. Good job. But then this week, these, shall we say, troubling posters began appearing all around the city. each one featuring a well-fed, gorgeous, but obviously distressed toddler who is spewing questionably interpreted data and plenty of social shame at his or her mythical parent. Things like, if you finish high school, get a job and get married before having children, you have a 98% chance of not being in poverty. Nope. No. See, Mr. Mayor, that's what I'm talking about. You know full well that poverty has increased even as teen pregnancy has decreased. And that child poverty is much more closely linked to low-wage work and barriers to employment than it is to maternal age. And you know that poverty among African Americans and Latinos has increased even though those communities have seen the most dramatic decreases in teen pregnancy. That is the kind of misleading statistic that might lead some people to, blame young mothers for America's deepening poverty crisis rather than putting the blame where it belongs, on a financial system that concentrates wealth at the top and public policies that entrench it there. And then there's this poster. Honestly, Mom, chances are he won't stay with you. What happens to me? I am rarely rendered speechless, but this one, I cannot. In a society that constantly tells black girls and women through popular culture and public policy that we are easily disposable, unmarriageable, and wholly unlovable, this image of a child mocking her young mother with partner abandonment is simply a step too far. Maybe you don't realize this, Mr. Mayor, but most of us who were raised by single moms never had any interest in shaming them. We tend to praise them, recognize their sacrifices, and see all the ways they work to make the world better for us, even when it was hard for them. So listen up, Mr. Mayor. I know you have kind of a thing about labeling as public health strategy. You can't even so much as buy a falafel from a street vendor in the city these days without having to read a label with all the nutritional information attached. Okay, that's fine. And reducing teen pregnancy is a worthy goal. But keep your labels off these young people.
All right, so like I said, every time the conversation comes up about teen pregnancy or just having children, not even being a teen, being an adult, doing it by yourself. I know scenario situations right now, women are grown, already graduated from college, have some type of ailments in their bodies, and they're trying to do the single parent thing by themselves, and they're struggling, and it's difficult. So this was directed towards children, but it doesn't even matter. An adult, period, being a single parent, it's not wise. But of course, you always have the exceptions to the rules who don't like this. These campaigns that try to tell people like, yo, don't do that. But I don't know. It's like leftist logic is definitely they'd rather raise the water than lift the bridge. Instead of avoiding scenarios and situations, they rather let those situations happen and then deal with them later. I don't know. But this is the title of the article is "I Was a Teen Mother." It's by Gloria Malone. All right, so I guess Time did a piece on this, but it starts off as this: I was a teenage mother. I was 15 when I was pregnant. I was told today I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I'm not a teenager anymore. But I can't help but be affected by the New York City controversial anti-teen pregnancy campaign. The posters which appear on the subway walls and buses feature toddlers in a state of despair and discontent. Yeah, because they were born to teenage mothers. One ad shows a crying baby in the text, "I'm twice as likely to not to graduate from high school because you had me as a teen." That's true. What's the problem? Many posters ask, "Think being a teen parent won't cost you." It definitely will cost you your time, your life, your freedom, and everything. What's the problem? Some people argue that these ads are fresh, approaching, and to deal with the problem of teen pregnancy. But I can tell you that there's nothing innovative about them at all. All they do is take the insult and stereotypes directed at teen parents every day and post them up around the city walls. So to me, that's the leftist logic. It hurts my feelings when you put these posters up. So let's ignore the problem we're having in society with children having children, and let's ignore addressing that scenario. I just don't understand that part of it. So I guess this is where she goes into her rant about her story. At the age of 15, I was a good student, determined to apply for college. You must have sucked at health because you would have known to use protection. Obviously not that great in health class. But anyways, But after I had my daughter, my high school college counselor refused to see me and to help me with my applications because she thought you were a waste of time. That sucks. She never expected me to graduate. Most people, even in my family, assumed that I wouldn't amount to anything and to be dependent upon the government for assistance for the rest of my life. There's a lot of people who are generational welfare people, and it keeps repeating itself. But I wanted to be someone my daughter could be proud of. So every day I woke up before the sun, drove my daughter's father to work. Oh, so you actually had your child's father in your life. That's a plus. Um, Drove my daughter to daycare and still managed to be in class at 7:50. Now, this is at 15 years old, right? How does that work? I don't know. Before the bell rang, I also worked 35 hours a week at a cell phone store, and I would leave school early to go to a co-op program that allowed graduate seniors to work and go to school at the same time. After getting out of work, I would pick up my daughter from daycare and go home. I was tired. I was always tired, but more than anything, I was determined. Who the hell do you know gonna do that? It's adults that complain, feminists, about the work-life balance, and yet you're saying that you did all that as a teenager. Yeah, there are adults today who complain about it. I mean, it's good that she did what she had to do. Obviously, when you're in that situation, you have to move forward. But the majority of young females are not gonna do all this. It's bogus. I also had a few people who encouraged me not listen to the stereotypes. It's not a matter of stereotypes. It's a matter of a reflection of reality. It's not a good look. People like my chorus teacher who allowed me to show up a few minutes late. Oh, okay, there you go, to class, and I could pump breast milk first. My economics teacher who congratulated me on having a healthy baby and reminded me that he was proud of me for not giving it up. And the nurse at my daughter's doctor's office who told me I was doing a great job and keep it up. These bits of encouragement are what kept me going. Thanks to them, I graduated with honors and went to community college. Today, I am a student and advocate for youth parents and all above proud mom. You're an advocate for youth parents? To blame, shame, stereotype expressed by so many others simply told me to give up. Stereotypes and blames do not stop teenagers from engaging in unprotected sex or discourage teen pregnancy. It works for some kids who are smart. They simply keep teenagers' parents from seeking the help and support they need. Well, the whole point of the ad campaign is to avoid them needing and seeking help. It's to shame you in spite of your actions. Like, you're gonna do this, there's gonna be a consequence of it. So that's what the intentions of the ads are. Not to shame people who are already screwed up, but to see the people who haven't messed up yet, don't do this. But that's not leftist logic. They say it's too much emotion and feelings involved with it, and it's gonna hurt some people's feelings. Well, if you are young as hell and you do something like that, you kind of should be ashamed of it, because you're not putting that child in the best position it can be. Having a baby should be done in a committed relationship, and when you have the ability, not just financially but emotionally, to deal with it. Anything outside of that is unfair to the child, and it is a shame. So you should be ashamed, in my opinion. Alright, she says these ads simply keep teenagers from seeking the help and support they need. The point is to avoid them from needing that help in the first place. The only tool that has been proven to prevent teen pregnancy is contraceptive, comprehensive sex education, birth control, and abstinence. I agree with the abstinence part. Birth control, chicks can still have babies, and sex education is not working. Now, Malissa Harris, two last names, Perry, did mention that the teen pregnancy rates were down, but what she failed to mention to you is that the STD rates in New York State across the board and the abortion rates for Black and Latinos are the highest in the country. I think it's I think 60% out of all babies born or conceived between the ages of 15 and 20 something, 60% of them are aborted in New York. That's the highest in the nation. So the leftists pointed out that the teen pregnancies were down, but they're not counting the abortions because they're having a lot more of them now. But moving on. These ads do not explain why New York City, which thankfully makes birth control accessible to youth and has um, only recently began to require that comprehensive sex education be taught in all of its public schools, nor do they offer teen parents any support for how to get out of poverty. They have to give you support how to get out of poverty, but we're telling you that putting yourself in that position will guarantee you a place in poverty, but I guess that doesn't matter. Um, and provide their children with more stable upbringing. Again, you're a child. You shouldn't be having the child. You shouldn't be in this position in the first place. Until that happens, there will always be teenage pregnancies and teenage parents. Well, again, like we live in a different age, and people had kids at a younger age back in the day, so I don't see that point. But we do live in a society, though, that we promote having children and things of that nature, not as a teenager, but in your 20s, or at least after you're married. So it's different. I think we've dumbed society down so much that children are a lot more immature than they were in previous generations, but it's still not a good look. Anyway, she says, at least we can do is let them ride public transportation in peace. So, I mean, I thought she was going to tell me that she was like a doctor or a lawyer or something, because she says that she was a proud single mother or whatever, but that's not the case. But like I said before, New York City is having a problem, and they try to address it, but the leftists have an issue with it, and for some reason, they don't get that this does work, in my opinion. It works for me. Looking at the people that I see struggling, having issues, a lot of my boys that have kids, and they're not even teenagers, their whole lives change, and they can't do the things they want to do. So as an adult, I look at those scenarios and situations like, well, why wouldn't this work on kids? Again, to counteract the way media, television, and liberals promote single motherhood. And I say they promote it because, like Malissa Harris, two last names Perry, she doesn't want you shaming them. But what she does want is, after they get in that situation, she wants you to spend all this government money in the form of handouts or what have you to take care of these situations and these kids. And she doesn't put forth anything to prevent them. They say sex education is like, who doesn't know really what to do and what not to do? We all are adults. We all know right from wrong, yet we still choose to do the wrong things. So this notion of, oh, if we just teach it more in schools, it'll be better. That's, again, the parents' job at home to do all that stuff, and it's not being done. Liberals, leftists, in my opinion, feminists, all the same thing, but they promote single motherhood. It's ridiculous. To me, it's like they want people dependent upon the government, and I have, a dependency. If you look at that Gloria thing that the Obama administration put out earlier, it shows you the dynamics of what the world will look like behind leftist ideology from the moment of freaking a baby. Everything that this girl, Julia, my bad, everything she did was completely done by the government and paid for by the taxpayers. She didn't build anything. Like, you can say she didn't build that, but you gotta listen to this ridiculous statement that Melissa Harris, whose last name is Perry, said. She referenced the Messiah and his mother, and said, trying to, in her attempt to address the redefinition or of the nuclear family, or to open up doors for same-sex marriages, and like leftists, they stand behind single motherhood and single parenting by choice because it's part of their platform, and that's one of the largest voting blocks is that. But it's not. They use those individuals because they want to push non-traditional forms of families, i.e., same-sex couples or whatever. But it's like amazing how they want, they're asking for the government to support not only school system that's already failing, they want you to put more social programs, forget about the math and the arithmetic and the science, the things that we need to be learning to compete with other countries, which we're not doing right now. We're not winning. And it's like we ignore all that to focus on bullying and trying to normalize homosexuality, just silly stuff like that. We're spending a lot of money and time wasting doing those things. Meanwhile, we're not building children who are adequate to go out there in the workforce to perform and compete. But you gotta listen to what she just said though about single motherhood. That's how sickening leftist logic is where to promote single motherhood, she'll say what she just said here.
Creative, fulfilling, and healthy ways to make family. Even Jesus was born to an unwed mom and raised by a doting stepfather. Creative, fulfilling, and healthy ways to make family. Even Jesus was born to an unwed mom and raised by a doting stepfather.